If you're planning a wedding in Portugal and you're from the US, from the UK, from Canada, from Australia, this is the part that no one explains clearly. How to choose the right region. Should you go to Algarve, Lisbon, Sintra? Also, the right photography coverage without overcrowding like your timeline or even without overcomplicating your destination wedding weekend. By the end of this video, then you will know where your vision fits best. Also, what editorial with calm direction actually really means in practice. Also, what to ask for so that your day runs smoothly and doesn't feel super rushed. Hi, my name is Rui. Yes, it's a super Portuguese name, and I'm one half of the Lopes Photography. We are based in Portugal and we photograph weddings all over the country. So think about Algarve, Lisbon, Sintra, Porto, and basically 100% of our work is with couples just like you that have an international or a destination wedding here in Portugal. We also only take a very limited number of weddings per year, only 10 weddings. And of course that we value a lot to work with wedding planners that value the experience. Our approach to photography is editorial but grounded. We love calm direction, calm backgrounds, also that the couples have space to actually enjoy and experience their day to the full. Around the 90-second mark of this video, then I'll mention here a checklist. I'll mention here below the blog that we have made in our website. We share in there the full Portugal photographer checklist. And in that way, you have everything in one place and you don't need to have like 10 or 20 tabs open in your browser. Now, Algarve versus Lisbon versus Sintra, how to decide. So let's start by give you some clarity in here. If you are stuck between regions, not sure where you should go, don't start with venue. Start with how do you want your wedding to feel like. Now let's approach this by regions. So for example, Algarve. The Algarve is about space and also about rhythm. Think about cliffs, villas, long spaces, and also your guests staying together. And it works best for multi-day celebrations, villa buyouts, welcome dinners, pool parties, slow mornings, is that kind of vibe. Purely from a photography perspective, Algarve weddings benefit from intentional pace. It's true, in Algarve, the sun is strong, the wind can be real, but the best images in your Algarve wedding, they happen when your timeline respects these factors and not when your timeline tries to fight against these natural elements. Okay, so a quick micro recap. If you are looking for a destination wedding that fits everything in one place, Algarve can be the most forgiving and immersion option. Now let's look to another region, Big Lisbon. Lisbon is all about movement. Think about textures, the urban vibe, so it's a lot of transitions, but it has more variables to offer you. And Lisbon is great for couples that are looking for that refined city feel, the famous European historic architecture, and a big plus, your guests can fly in and out very easily from the international airport. And logistically, then Lisbon requires a tighter coordination of things. How do we say this? Well, you need to take into account traffic, you need to take into account ceremony access. So all of these things, they can really work well when they are very well planned. Our micro recap for Lisbon. Lisbon suits couples that are looking for design and energy, and at the same time that they are comfortable with a more structured schedule of their wedding day. Now, Sintra. We love Sintra. Why? Because Sintra is all about that architectural drama. Think about palaces, gardens, symmetry. Sintra works beautifully for statement ceremonies, also for formal portrait blocks, of course for editorial compositions that take into account the scale, but also the depth of that area. In comparison between Algarve and Lisbon, Sintra is where the light composition really matters the most. Why do we say this? Well, Sintra is a mountain, so in there you need to take into account what are the best times of the day for the light. There will be a big forest, there is elevation, and also you need to take in account the shade. So here the timing that you allocate to the events of your wedding day will have a direct impact then in the images of your wedding day. So let's go to our micro recap. If architecture is the emotional anchor of the vision that you have for a wedding day, then Sintra will deliver, that's for sure, but you need things to be very well planned. Let you know how these three regions differ from each other. Let's talk about how the photography style can change how your day will feel. Now it's time to get real again, because when you talk about photography, the term editorial is just thrown about these days everywhere. So what does an editorial style of photography actually means in practice? So it means that you are not being posed every single second of your wedding day, but also at the same time, you are never left guessing what you should do. This is why we give direction where it matters the most. For example, think about your ceremony. Think about your ceremony framing. Think about portrait transitions after the group flow. And then we step back as your photographer so that these moments can flow clearly. Of course, this approach depends on certain factors like backgrounds, thoughtful spacing, and allowing time between the events that you have scheduled. Think like this: if your timeline is super stacked, then this photography style will suffer. And why? It's not because of the lack of effort from the photographer, but because there's no room to compose the shots correctly. Or micro recap: editorial photography is not about more posing. It's about the better structure so that your images will feel intentional and not rushed. So now that you understand this approach of editorial photography, let's talk about how planning from abroad changes everything. Most of our couples plan their wedding day remotely, so this means, of course, that this changes completely how the decision making should be made. And instead of we having dozens of calls, we recommend the following: having clearly monthly milestone, fewer vendors chosen earlier, and that your timeline is built around logic, light during the day, not on a Pinterest order. And time zones really matter when you plan from abroad, and this can enhance your decision fatigue. This is one of the big reasons why we always encourage all the couples to book their photography as early as possible. And why? Because your photography will influence the following areas of your wedding day. It will influence your ceremony timing, your dinner placement, the portrait flow, and also where, if or whether a multi-day coverage of your wedding weekend does make sense for you or not. Let's do once again our micro recap. If you are planning from abroad, then clarity on what you are doing will beat optionality. Fewer decisions made earlier then will lead for a calmer destination wedding weekend. Once your logistics are clear, then you need to start thinking about the timing. Specifically, we are here talking about when to book and also how photography will affect your schedule. In Portugal, light is predictable, but only if you plan for it. Let's talk about a high-level guidance. For example, for Algarve and Lisbon, late afternoon ceremonies normally photograph best. What about for Sintra? Earlier planning around the shade and also elevation makes a crucial role in here. What about the booking timing? Most of the couples, they book their photography experience 12 to 18 months earlier. And this is especially important if you are having a multi-day wedding weekend on peak months. And there are coverage decisions that you need to ask to your photographer. For example, multi-day versus single day, film versus Super 8. You're having an engagement session in Portugal, and that needs to be tied to your travel plans. From the photographer's side, don't think that they are upselling you their product. Feel that this is the photographer designing an experience how your wedding weekend will feel like reflected in the photos. Our quick micro recap. The earlier you book your photography, then the result is that things will be more flexible and calm when you are deciding on the details of your timeline. And let's talk about coverage. What cover options do you have and what premium coverage actually means for you? Premium coverage of your destination wedding weekend, it's not about hours alone. Usually it includes timeline input, not just documentation. Also, multi-day storytelling, film photography for things to be epic and have that timeless feel. Super 8 for motion and memory. But if you are thinking about eloping, then things might shift here a little bit, because normally an elopement has fewer hours than a traditional wedding. There's more movement across different locations, and there's a heavier emphasis on the kind of light and the composition of your photos. So here are some things that you can ask your photographer or photographers. How do they handle transitions? How do they scout the light if they have never been to the place? What's their plan if the weather suddenly changes? So our micro recap. Remember, a premium coverage of your elopement or destination wedding weekend is not only about a final gallery, how things look at the end, but is about the whole experience around you. If you are deciding between Algarve, Lisbon or Sintra, and if you are looking for photography that supports a calm, well-paced wedding weekend, then I've put everything in one place. You can check, I'll leave down the link to our blog, to our Portugal photographer planning checklist, where you can see venue notes, high-level pricing guidance on the blog post below. So I recommend you to start there. And then if you feel that you are aligned with our vision of how destination wedding should be, just contact us. If you feel that this video helped you, save it, share it with your partner, share it with your planner, because it always helps for your planning to go smoother, to be easier when everyone is aligned and in the same page.